Good morning, good day, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, wherever you are on planet Earth. So some really speculative news this morning, and watching the narrative of the mainstream media pinning Russia, and of course Putin, titles like Mafia Government Russia, etc., etc. It's I'm not suggesting anything here, but I want to open everyone up to some other possibilities based on information. So 2 or 3 days ago, a video came out of Wagner, Pigozin in Africa, right? And he was there, and whether that was a delayed uploaded video of Wagner in Africa, but you also got to think of what's going on in Africa. So the French are being kicked out of Africa. The Russians are coming in because they've never had slaves, and they've offered more even deals, which is also a part of the legislation of BRICS. It's about a multipolar world government, not like a bully like the US, where we have this what is it called, an aristocratic system where one country benefits and has control and makes everyone pay through the mighty US dollar, through back in the Nixon deal, where everything has to be traded through the US dollar. And if you don't comply, then we'll put sanctions on you. So that's the sort of thing that most of the planet now is fed up with, this G7 and American oligarch, crap. And so getting back to the possibility of Pigozin from Wagner Group being executed in this flight, there's two scenarios that I believe it could be. Either it was agreed that he would go missing and he's disappearing with a new identity and he's not even dead, and he's simply just going to change his ID and he's going to operate and he's going to help the situation in Africa and all that. And so he's sort of been guaranteed safety, and he's written himself off and he's changed his ID, but he's on paper, he's dead in the plane crash. Or two, I think it's more likely that the West or NATO or the French or whoever have actually, if it was Wagner in that plane, if the media is pointing at Putin and the Russian government and it's all fingers on blaming Russia, then you can assume that maybe that's not the truth. That maybe Russia was willing to keep Wagner because of the position it helps in Africa with the situation in freeing Africa up, which again is part of the BRICS agreement, for all these countries to come into alignment for BRICS, for a multipolar planetary governmental system. So I think that if the West was able to take out Pigozin as punishment, or to affect the Wagner Group's ability to assist in Niger and Nigeria and Mali and Burkina Faso, or whatever it's called. So I think it's more likely the West took it out and will pin it and blame it on Russia to make Russia look bad, because it always seems to be that way. Russia always seems to cop the blame, and it's always the bad guy, for public opinion anyway. So it seems like the narrative is that Russia's behind it. But when you think about all the different aspects, including the African French kicked out scenario, the Russians helping them kick the French out, I think it would have been in Russia's interest to hold on to Pigozin in order to assist with the freeing up of Africa for BRICS. So it doesn't make sense that Putin would do that because of the implications that would mean that could come back on him. So like I said, the first one, they've disappeared him without him actually being killed, and they're gonna fabricate that he died on the plane when he didn't, or the West took it out to blame Russia for a multi-front set of reasons. So yeah, anyway. So how is everyone? I hope everyone's well. It's an interesting time. I've got lots of different things going on actually, and yeah, it's been a really challenging time with so much going on. But anyway, that's all I have to say about that at the moment. I don't think I have any more information. Other than that, there seems to be an attack on previous kingdoms and Indigenous peoples at the moment, both here in Australia with the voice thing, which has not, apparently they haven't actually sat down with any elders to discuss any community planning of how they want to do that. So it seems like it's more like a corporate grab. I believe the voice is actually, the voice of the Indigenous people here is actually not for the Indigenous people, but it's using that legislation, documentation of the virtue signalling of everyone who wants to do the right thing and let the Aboriginal people have control of their lands. But what it really is when it comes down to it in the future, we may see that that wasn't actually the case. They won't be able to, and there'll be some block through some legality, and it will be in corporate control, and it's actually a land grab by foreign big corporation, and it'll be worse than it already is with the crown, like the crown land under the King of England stuff. So, yeah, I don't think I can vote yes on the voice, because I believe that it's actually a form of land grab, both from original Australians and European, the ancestors, us ancestors of colonists of Australia. It's a land grab of the common everyday person, and it's very much on par with what we're seeing with the fires. The fire over in Maui, where a lot of people died. And if you didn't already know, there's new information come through, not confirmed, but it appears that any buildings or any object that was the colour blue didn't seem to burn. And there's evidence of, there's actually a sort of a laser that you can point, and it won't burn the blue spectrum, but everything else will catch fire. And they're saying that all the multi-millionaires, billionaires, mansions and houses all had their roofs painted blue, which to me means that if they're using some sort of drone or satellite weapon that can beam down a directional beam of light that activates fires, that anything that's blue just simply doesn't burn and it goes untouched. It's apparently blue cars, there's blue plastic containers, anything that was blue, unless someone's bullshitted and done CGI, they haven't been burnt. And so it makes you beg the question, how did people like Oprah and Obama and all that, how did they know to have their houses painted green unless they're complicit in the whole conspiracy of this weaponization of destroying Maui? And the community in in Maui. They're very, very forefront. They're coming together. They're going to hold the government accountable to make sure that they are involved in the talks of what they want, not big corporation. Again, there's all sorts of stories coming out where people were escaping and getting away from the danger zone of the fire, and the police had pulled up in the car and was telling turn around and go back that way, going back into the fire. They were trying to escape to save their lives, and the police come down because it's all compartmentalized. I don't think the police officers who had the orders, I don't think they're evil, bad people, but their orders were simply, my orders are to tell you have to go that way. And it's just a shame that humans couldn't be humans and say, excuse me, officer, I understand that you've got an order to tell us to go back, but that order is redundant under the emergency circumstances. It's come from high up and they got no effing idea what is going on here. So stand down, get out of that suit and be an everyday human and let us pass. And that's what should have happened. Anyone with common sense, but I guess everyone's sort of, everyone, when it comes to an emergency like that, it's like everyone's in shock. It's like someone's been slapped hard across the face and they're like basically stunned and going, is that real? I can't believe that just happened. What do I do? Do I get angry? Do I fight back? Do I punch back? Or did that really happen? I can't believe that just happened to me. Oh my God, what's going on here? You know, it's sort of like there's a lot of, when you have tragic emergencies like that, people aren't usually in a good mental space. There are some that will go into survival fight mode. The others will go into flight. Others will, if they've got previous trauma, they will shift into the trauma itself and freeze up, and it's like they're in some other space, and it's like they're outside of the present time, and they're not even really in their body, and they're not coping with what's happening. And I think that's a part of what happened. But if you go up the strings of command, you'll find that there's something very, very corrupt and sinister going on there, and they simply get away with it because the structure of command and people simply doing their job and not looking at the bigger picture and questioning what's really going on and using their common sense, and instead putting orders over common sense. And in such a big emergency like that, I think you need to address common sense and not just reside in taking orders, because time and time again we've all been witness to where that has caused huge destruction and loss of life. So yeah, that's what I have to say about that at the moment. And yeah, let's just see what happens next. There seems to be something about the date of the 23rd of September, which is very interesting. A lot of stuff, The Simpsons, a lot of movies over the last 10, 15 years has been this, what do you call it? The programming, the pre-programming, I can't think of the word, but preemptive programming for the 23rd of September, 2023. So we got to keep an eye on that date. There is rumours that there's going to be this variation of the Omicron coming out of Canada, that they're going to bring in some rules to whatever level that's going to take, but they're talking about masks and everything back on around December, but certain restrictions starting from September. with the media picking up something about that, unless it's going to be the HN151 bird flu mutation, or what's the other one? Not Morgellon. Can't think of the name of it, but it's the one where you bleed. Anyway, I can't remember it. So there's potentially that maybe coming back. What else was in the pipeline? Okay, so there was a BRICS meeting in Johannesburg, which is, I don't know what the timetable is for that, whether it's long-term, short-term, but CBDC, central bank digital currency, is a real thing. It's been announced that they want that to be the normal status, full operandi on the planet by December. And then you have the Fed Now system, and then you have the QFS with the BRICS alliance countries that want a multi-polar governmental system where people have to operate in a higher morality, where they can't be the boss and put sanctions on other countries, just like the US has done when they don't follow the rules of trading through US dollar. It's a more fairer system. A lot of countries, they don't want to be under that system anymore, so this one's growing, and it's growing exponentially. Everyone's going to board it, and then unfortunately the US dollar system is going to be all alone and by itself, because no one's going to want to be it, and they'll abandon it, and therefore it won't have any power anymore, and it will have to collapse and go away. So the BRICS alliance is actually a good thing. With the QFS system, it's a more fairer system. And it's the better of the two systems. The other ones, basically takes us to a North Korean sort of communist, socialist, fully controlled system where your freedoms are taken away and everything. So watch that space. So they are saying gold and silver is something that's safe, whereas your money in the bank may not be safe, because if all the currencies are going to change, or they're going to go down, or hyperinflation or whatever, at the end of the day, the one thing that usually gets through all this stuff is gold and silver. So if you're concerned about the wealth you have sitting there in a bank account, and what sort of value that is going to have in the future world, then if you actually convert it into gold and silver and hold that until the changeover is complete, and we can establish what new currencies are actually operating on the planet, and which one has all nations chosen as the main one to operate with, whether it's the Chinese one or whatever, I don't really know at this stage. But if it's with BRICS, they'll choose one particular currency, but everything will sort of get linked in, and so you'll be able to just trade, it's like dollar for dollar wherever you are, and you'll probably be able to, like, as far as international travel and trade, it'll all be linked in. So it's sort of like a bit like the European Union, where they had the one currency, the euro, in a sense, but obviously it's not a cabal banking system. So basically, people in all the different countries of Africa, they will probably have an increase in the value. It's like when countries take up and say, we're using the US dollar, and so they're more on par with that money and wealth to all the other countries, because everything's trading off the US dollar. But with the US dollar gone, and that not having any value anymore, what value is your currency sitting in the bank? Whereas if you've got gold, then when they decide what gold and silver is worth against whatever new currency is coming out later on in the future, next year or the year after, whenever it is, 2025, 2027, I don't know. But if you've got gold now and you hold that gold, even if it doesn't go up on the charts, if it stays the same, or even if it goes down, whatever it equal to on the new currency system later on, it's still going to be worth more, even if it's actually counts to a lower number, because the price of milk is probably going to go back down. Possibly the price of food will probably go down by three quarters of the price it is now. So if something costs $10, you're probably only going to pay $3 for it. So whatever the new evaluation of everything is, and then when everything settles down and the new system is established, you then convert that gold into that currency, because those currencies will be gold backed. They will be gold and precious metals backed. And every mine in Africa and everything, through unification of some sort of confederate state of a united Africa, and the rest of the world operating on this new system will do it. And America, in order to save itself, free of the cabal, the new clean government there will be more. It's like we can it's like the cabal's the big bad guy enemy, right? But once they're out of the way, and then America says, how do we clean the system up? How do we come back up after so much destruction of our finances here and everything? So the resetting and revalue of all that and using a different currency, then they get invited to join it, and then America goes on its road to recovery as well, because everything's forgiven when the negative powers that be stand down, because it's not the people of the nations that is the problem. It's the corrupt governmental systems that are playing a power hand over other countries when it's not necessary and they don't have to. And it's really not the way of the future. It's not the way that people want to operate anymore. It's going to be more likened to how a community really operates, but with the same value system applied to a global digital economy. All right, so thank you very much. Nanu, live long and prosper, and I'll talk to you all soon. Bye for now.